Yeah, I look good.
You look old in glasses.
Welcome to Thursday Night Tavern Talk. He's Jack, I'm Dennis. We switched places this week. I think a little more skinnier. Let's stand for a pledge of allegiance and Mike's prayer. I
pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mike?
All right, I have the gospel and a few verses that you can read on your own. We'll go in 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verses 1 through 4. Moreover, brethren, I declare unto you the gospel which I preach unto you, which also ye have received, and wherein ye stand, by which also ye are saved, if ye keep in memory what I have preached unto you, unless ye have believed in vain. For I deliver unto you first of all that which I also received, how that Christ died for our sins according to the Scriptures, and that he was buried, and that he rose again the third day according to the Scriptures. I'd like you to also read 2 Corinthians 5:17, 1 John chapter 5, verses 10 to 13, and God even tells you what to do. Romans chapter 10, 9 through 13. Today's prayer. Dear Lord Father, please bless all that work on this podcast and those that listen to it. Please, Lord, have mercy on this nation and have our leaders do your will. Lord Father, salvation cannot be earned. Grace cannot be demanded as payment for our services. Lord, no matter how we strive to live in righteousness, we will always fall short of your standards. Lord, you know this, otherwise you would not have sent your Son for the salvation of all who claim his name. Lord Father, you did send him, and the Holy Ghost is with us today because of our neediness. Thank you, Lord Father, for making our perfection possible in the life to come. By ourselves, we would certainly fail. With you, Lord Father, anything is possible. We pray this in Jesus' precious name. Amen.
Amen. For all you folks that hear that, that's Dennis's new kitten. We locked him out. Is it a him or?
It's a her.
We locked her out, and
She wants him.
she's letting us know.
Politicians every day say or do something stupid that makes you turn your head and wonder how they ever got elected to public office.
I got some numbers here that'll startle you.
Yeah. It doesn't matter what part of the country you're in or even what state, locality, politicians say some dumb things. These politicians don't even run on their character anymore. All they do is mudsling, just throw mud and try to smear their opponents.
So that's what happens when you have no character.
They don't run on their platforms. I mean, just look at each party's platform. Republicans almost 60 pages. Democrats over 100 pages. There's no way in hell to sell that to the American people. 60 pages of ridiculousness, 106 pages of ridiculousness. So instead, they try to make you think their opponents are losers, which they're not. But these politicians don't run, like you said, these politicians don't run on their platforms. They make promises and they know they can't keep. They tell you what you want to hear. They confuse constituents with telling us dirt they have dug up on others. Republicans use it against Democrats. Democrats use it against Republicans. And Republicans, same party. They use the same thing. We're tired of their lies and the misinformation they have given us all the time. And the only ones that lose out are us, the American people, us citizens. It's really annoying. We have mentioned each party. Oh my God, it's right here.
Easier said than done.
Yeah, it's right there. We have mentioned about each party and the stupid stuff they say, or the wannabe politicians say that pisses us off. Politicians need to run on their platforms created not smearing their opponents. Said platforms are a wish list that hardly ever come to fruition. Right now, we have bullies running our country So we need to change that. It's that, if that is what you like the bullying, you like the mudslinging, you might be part of the reason and problem why this country is so messed up right now in the out of control spiral. Most of us, I'd say a good 3/4 of us, 80%, are fed up with politicians skirting questions and telling us we don't understand or telling us their opponent sucks. It's got to stop, folks. Constituents have insight in their communities and they know what they need best. Politicians better start answering questions and stop talking to people like we're idiots, because we're not. These parties need a parent in the room. And that is where the Independent Constitution Party comes in. We will be the party that will run on qualifications and our platform. We're not going to mudsling. We're not going to lie to you. It'll be straightforward. This is what we want to do. We'll show you why you should vote for us, for the candidates running on our ballot line. During debates, we're not going to mudsling. We're not going to talk dirty about it. If they want to do that, we will show you how they're doing that. But we're going to answer your questions. We're not going to mudsling our opponents. No more will be left in the dark. We're going to get you the information and educate you so you can make the best decisions for your family. So give us a chance. It's the Independent Constitutional Party. So right here on YouTube, Facebook, and we have a couple of Facebook pages: United States Constitutional Group and Independent Constitutional Party. But today we'll be talking about some major issue headlines in the news lately. Sit back, relax, and let Jack start us off.
All righty, folks. So I'm going to go through this here. Dennis is going to talk about some issues that are going through the news and stuff like that. We all see what's going on in the news. And you sit there and you say, how is this happening? And then you sit there and you watch the news again and you go back and you go, how is this happening? And then you just go through your life. Then you sit through the news again and you go, I cannot believe this is happening. Why is this happening? So here's the question you ask yourself. I'm going to answer it for you. You ready for this? Every state constitution, public education system is to prepare active and informed citizens. All right? That's in every state constitution. That's what they're supposed to be doing. That's the first thing. The founding fathers wanted us to read the Constitution, which we've been telling you. Then they wanted you to study it, and then they wanted you to teach it, which would lead you to knowing your rights, and you would know when they are violated. So that way, you can defend them and then assert them. So that's what the founding fathers did. They wanted you to read the Constitution. They wrote it, read it. And then they want you to study it, because it should and then you should teach it. And now you can know how to defend it and assert these rules. So that when these start happening, which we're going to get some addresses and emails and stuff like that on our webpage to start asking questions to the press. Like, where did you get this information from? Why is this? Here's a big problem we have. 70% of the students today do not know that the United States Constitution is the law of the land. 70%.
School anymore.
All right? 65% do not know what the role of the judiciary is. 65. So we have something Dennis is going to go over. Roe versus Wade. They're going nuts. They're going out of their mind. They didn't even make it against the law. They just said it's not a federal law. States can do whatever they want with it. You want to have it? You don't? That's it. Back to the way it was. 62% of our public school students cannot name the 3 branches of government. 62%.
Neither can AOC.
Well, here we go. Funny you say that. This one, you're not going to believe me. And you should. 48% of the elected officials do not know what the 3 branches of government are. Wow. 48%.
What a disgrace.
And I will bet you dollar to donuts that your state legislators and state officials are even worse. I bet you it's over 50%. This is an average of 48% of state and federal people that are supposed to be running your government for you folks. So you're wondering why this stuff is going on? You have to ask yourself, what don't I know? Why is this? If you're asking why this is happening, then you don't know something. And what you don't know is the law of the land, the three branches of government, what their role is, why they're there. And it's all here. It's written down. It's been here since the founding of our country. They wrote it down for us every step of the way. I'm going to read something in here from George Washington. It's going to blow your mind away. All right? So basically what I have to say about that is we're failing our children, folks. If our kids don't know, 70% of our children, grandchildren, nieces and nephews, don't know what the role of the judicial party is, I mean, there's a problem. 65% don't know what the three branches of government are. 48% of the people you're electing into a position. Again, this goes back to the podcast we had on oaths. This is the reason why they don't take care of their oath, because they don't even know what they're supposed to be doing. They don't even know what part of the branch of government they're in. We are failing our posterity, and the posterity is our future. It says it right in the Constitution that these laws of the land is to save our posterity. So people say, you know, what do these old guys know? So I'm going to go.
We actually know a little bit.
Huh?
We actually know a little bit.
Yeah. So September 17, 1796, George Washington did his farewell speech. And I'm going to read part of it. It's many pages long. He spent 4 years writing it. I think my brother's old enough. I think he did the opening prayer. So, anyway, again, this is in the middle of his thing. He had talked about, he was very, very anti-party.
I had white wood.
Yeah.
You crushed the berries for the yank, huh?
Yeah, we get some ink now. So George Washington, earlier in his farewell speech, had talked how he's anti-party. There should not be political parties. And he goes on. So I have already intimated to you the dangers of parties in the state, with particular reference to the founding of them on geographical discriminations. Let me now take a more comprehensive view and warn you in the most solemn manner against the baneful effects of the spirit of party generally. Okay, so he had, earlier in his speech, it showed how these parties were discriminatory throughout different parts of the country, north, east, west, south, the whole thing. Okay, this spirit, unfortunately, is inseparable from our nature, having its roots in the strongest passions of the human mind. It exists under different shapes in all governments, more or less stifled, controlled, or repressed. But in those of the popular form, it is seen in the greatest rankness and in truly their worst enemy. The alternate domination of one faction over another, sharpened by the spirit of revenge. Any revenge going on in the news, folks? Natural party dissension. Are they not throwing each other under the bus? Which in different ages and countries has perpetrated the most horrid enormities, is itself a frightful despotism. But this leads at length to a more formal and permanent despotism. The disorders and miseries which result gradually incline the minds of men to seek security and repose in the absolute power of an individual. We talk about this too, the power of these individuals. Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi,
Mitch
McConnell, Lindsey Graham. Our president has been there since I was in kindergarten. And sooner or later, the chief of some prevailing faction, more able or more fortunate than his competitors, turns this disposition to the purpose of his own elevation on the ruins of public liberty. This is what he said in 1796 on his way out of office. I mean, purpose of his own elevation on the ruins of public liberty. AOC? Can anybody say AOC in the squad? Holy shit if she's not doing that. Without looking forward to an extremity of this kind, which nevertheless ought to not be entirely out of sight, the common and continual mischiefs of the spirit of party are sufficient to make it the interest and duty of a wise people to discourage and restrain it. It serves always to distract the public counsel and enfeeble the public administration. It agitates the community with ill-founded jealousies and false alarms. Never let a good crisis go to waste. Barack Obama's administrations.
That's every administration.
Kindness, the animosities of one part against another, foments occasionally riot and insurrection. 1796, riots and insurrection. Have you watched the news lately?
I think there are riots every day.
It opens the door to foreign influences and corruption. We did that 3 weeks ago with the
Russia.
George Soros guys, which finds a facilitated access to the government itself through the channels of party passion. Thus, the policy and the will of one country are subjected to the policy and the will of another. Look at every district attorney in these liberal states, Manhattan, Philadelphia, Los Angeles, all funded by George Soros types from outside this country that know better. Remember, folks, this administration in particular continually compares us to Europe. We don't want to be in Europe. Part of his goodbye speech, his farewell speech, says all of those different types of government do nothing but cause war and armament and large armies, which eventually will bring war amongst each other. That's Europe's future. They tried it with the EU, but it still doesn't work. The United States is united. It's of one people. We live here. We are one group. We have a law of the land that's supposed to take care of everything we have. And it doesn't, because 70% of the students today do not know that the United States Constitution is the law of the land. 65 of them don't know what the judiciary is. 62 can't name 3 branches of government, and 48% of elected officials don't know either.
It's funny because as far as the Bible and religion goes, it seems to always go with what you say about the 3 branches of government. 6% of Americans do not believe in creation. 9% read the Bible today.
So for you folks that don't think that the founding fathers, they wrote this and we're done. We won the war. Everything's good. Fast forward. You can't fast forward to it.
They were trying to
Because
set us up with success.
they sacrificed. Here's some numbers for people that signed the Declaration of Independence during the Revolutionary War. 7 died. 2 lost their health. 5 were POWs. 17 lost their estates or fortune. 5 incurred heavy debt. Lost their estate and fortune. The richest man in the United States at the time, Morris from Pennsylvania, ended up doing 2 years in debtor's prison because he ran out of money, and nobody will lend him any money anymore after he funded the war himself. 4 lost their children, and 4 lost their wives, all sacrificing their time to make this country for their posterity. What are we doing for our posterity? We can't even read the book. Never mind learn it and study it, teach it, and be ready to defend it. We won't even read it. And then we elect somebody into office that never read it either. That's what this party is all about. This party is not about a third party, a minor party. This is why Dennis says we don't have to mudslinging, because our party brings us back to the Constitution. Our party brings us to where we're supposed to, the law of the land. This is what our party is about. Our party is about bringing us back to the way you're supposed to govern, with purity and principle. Think about your posterity, folks.
We've been.
Go ahead.
You got a bunch, but I'll just read a few of them. Your sister's been writing a lot. Term limits, get them out. They don't believe in the Constitution. She found it shocking with the percentages that you gave. Amazing how he had such foresight. Moving towards another civil war. We have been so separated by our representatives. Scary time. Like you quoted Reagan, how can you love your country and not your countrymen? We need to start uniting and stop fighting against each other to prevent another civil war.
It's very simple to unite today. It's not like it was 200 years ago. It's written right here. All you have to do is unite around the law of the land. When you have somebody like AOC saying ridiculous nonsense on late night TV and how they talk about January 6th resurrection hearings that they have, they're a sham. They had a woman on there for hours testifying to hearsay. Hearsay is inadmissible. And if you don't know what hearsay is, it means I heard that through Tommy, who told Bobby, who told me this is what happened.
Well, Tommy knows it all.
Right. I mean, what are we doing? We're going to sit there for hours and let a 24-year-old testify about hearsay because Nancy Pelosi knows that they're getting their ass handed to them in the next election, so they're trying to smoke and mirrors. I mean, they had the two Secret Service by name volunteer. Pick me. Under oath, I'll tell you that didn't happen. I was there. She wasn't there. She read a letter that was written by another guy that read a letter, and she got it. And there's people out there that believe it and say, well, I don't think a 24-year-old would lie. But the two Secret Service members will. It's right here, folks. Two-party system divides. Now we got foreign interest in our government up to our eyeballs.
You know, we've been telling everybody since we started the constitutional group about this. So we weren't far off.
No.
We weren't far off at all. But this book, Constitution of the United States of America and Other Classic American Documents. That's where he's getting this information from. It's a lot of good information.
My sister got me that.
Is that the whole title? Because you can't really read it online.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all title.
Yeah, it just looks all one color here.
Yeah, the Constitution of the United States and of America and other classic documents.
It's postable on the website.
You know, we used to do that. We used to have pictures of books that we recommended.
We'll definitely put this one up.
If it comes out. Yeah.
So,
I can't color on it though, because it's very nice. I don't want to. Which, by the way, Margaret, I marked in the book. I had to today. She wanted me to highlight it, make notes in it. Hey, I don't want to. It's a nice book, but today I marked.
So I want to get into the abortion, not heavily. But when it comes to Roe versus Wade, the first thing we need to look at is the Constitution. And Article 10 stood out to me the most. The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. I understand it's a controversial topic that each of us has our opinion on. And people feel the Supreme Court justices are doing a poor job. And so unfortunately, we have a divided nation right now with 26 red states, 16 blue states, 8 purple states. In my opinion, what this decision says is that the federal government needs to mind their own business with this issue.
Amen.
Yep.
So under Article 10, it is not a federal issue, it's a state issue. These politicians are trying to split states, every state into a Democratic state of America and a Republican state of America. That's what they're looking to do. And it's a wrong move. You know. That's just some of the stories I've been reading lately. Abortion is a state issue. Now, each state will have to pass laws for this controversial subject, and constituents will be able to hold politicians more accountable for their voting record. Now, if you're a Republican and you live in a blue state, like say New York,
Good luck.
you're probably not going to like the laws they pass for this. The same goes for Democrats in red states. such as South Carolina and Florida. You won't be happy with the laws they pass. But we have to realize all states are sovereign and have the right to pass their own laws for each of their constituents. The Declaration of Independence, one of the best written documents in the history of the United States, says this: "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed." We've lost sight of that. That is what our forefathers envisioned for the people of the United States.
Yeah, hold up. Read that again. Let it sink in. Because you do have rights. And these rights come from the Almighty. You come straight. There is nobody that can tell you that you don't have these rights. Especially the people you're paying salary and vote into.
But the issue for politicians is, when do we define when a life starts? And how far do we go to include unalienable rights of people, which are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness? It also says in that politicians get their power from we, the people, the consent of the governed. That's us.
They can only govern without consent.
That's it. Politicians fail us every day with their abuse of power.
We did a State of the Union where the President of the United States said verbatim, "We the people," folks, means us here in this chamber. This man is delusional. It is us that consent to let you govern.
I don't see anywhere in the Constitution that says we have a right to an abortion or we don't have a right to an abortion. That should be an individual decision, a family decision, or a decision, not a decision by politicians. Okay? So if you want to move to a blue state, you can get an abortion. If you want to move to a red state, you're not going to get an abortion. The only thing it's saying is get the federal government out of the people's lives. And that's what we want to begin with. Get them out of our lives because they already have enough control over us. Jack?
So, again, I'm going to go back to what I feel this party that we're developing is all about. Now, every week we go over this divisiveness. And so what's the cure to it? And we say the Independent Constitutional Party. And why we say the Independent Constitutional Party is because of what our founding fathers had developed through the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States with its Bill of Rights and the other 17 amendments that were put in later on. And, our argument for still, a lot of people say, it's an old document before we had internet and before we had all of that, But we went over that last week with Ronald Reagan. But beyond that, why we believe in the Constitution is because the founding fathers filled it with principles. And if you govern through the Constitution of the United States, their feeling was, if you govern through the Constitution of the United States that is filled with principles, you would become a more principled person. You would come out of office with more principles than you went into. Because if you read the Constitution and then you study the Constitution and then you teach the Constitution, you will realize that the principles in there do not change. These are principles that were given to us by our Creator in whoever you believe, however you believe it, and they don't change. There's good in the world, there's bad in the world, there's evil in the world, and there's heroism in the world. But if you stay with the principles of what this country was founded on and govern through them, the problem is exactly what George Washington said. The power of party have gotten so strong that there's no love for country anymore. There's only love for power through your party. And you must maintain it at all costs So when you leave office now, today, you have no character, you have no honor, and you have no principle. You come out a shell. You come out a pariah. Nobody wants to be around you anymore. You're an animal. You're a parasite. Who wants you? I don't want you back in my neighborhood. You put me through hell. You passed laws and never abided by them. COVID example. The French laundry go eat. Michigan's husband's out sailing around on the lake all by himself because nobody else is allowed. You know, these people, they're going to the Super Bowl and basketball games. Well, I didn't breathe when I took my mask off to smile. They're preposterous. These people are doing whatever they want. They don't live by our rules because they are tyrants that don't care about the sacrifices that our founding fathers did, and later our veterans, and later all of the people that have sacrificed in life to try and make this country a better place. We have forgotten to worry about our posterity because all we're worried about
is whose feelings we're gonna hurt.
These people that are leading this government, all they care about is power. And they think they're going to go down in the history books as these great pillars of humanity.
When historians look back at this time, it's not going to be good.
You know, listen, it's all about our children and our grandchildren and where we're going now. I mean, when you have 70% of the kids going to public school do not know that the Constitution is the law of the land. When 48% don't know the three branches of government, yet they're leading this government. That's on us, folks. We set them there because we don't know the Constitution, so we don't know when our rights are being trampled. So when they come out with something like this, Roe versus Wade, and nobody knows how to react to it because they don't know what the Constitution is. It's not outlawed. It is not against the law in the United States to have an abortion. Some states will, but other states will. Because it's not a federal problem. It's a state problem.
Just like we need to get rid of the board of education federally, because it's a state issue.
Right.
You
It
know?
was never a law.
Mm-mm.
Abortion. It was an opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Let me catch up a little bit. Yes, this is good for you now. It's broken in the book. Division, and they do it very well. That's because he doesn't believe in our conversation.
No,
and their power will destroy us.
It is destroying us.
It is right now.
And, you know, again, there's a lot of variables to what's going on in this country right now. The two-power system with these parties is one, but you have that other unelected bureaucracy that is now the same size as our government that's running our government. So when the time comes where the bureaucracy gets bigger than the government, is the government still going to be able to govern? Or is the bureaucracies that are unelected, are they going to start governing? Because that's where we're at. I think it's a 50-50 race right now.
Mm-hmm.
Where, you know, if this was the Kentucky Derby, the guy would be talking like crazy. We're in the race, folks. So take care of your future. Look at your kids, your grandkids, your nieces and nephews, and say, do I want to do this to them? Boy, I'm really screwing them.
You know,
Because they're going through life, listen, everything's the way it always was. They don't know better.
you know, Jack, you said one word that in the beginning. You said hero. There's no heroes anymore. But you know what? There's gonna be. When you join this independent Constitution Party, you'll be a hero for your kids, your grandkids, and for future generations, because you're part of the change that was needed to make this country run better. Because these two parties, we've said it so many times, that's it. You can't get around. They go like this, and they don't know how to go around the obstacle. They're headbutting each other. It's never going to change. So we want to change that. That is our goal. And we only do that with you. So be a hero. So your kids can look up to you, your grandkids, and your great-grandchildren. And be a picture on the mail for generations to come. Say, hey, that guy started this. You know, that my grandfather started this party. So that's all I have to say on that. But what's that?
What's the matter?
I just wanted to we'll pray. I'll pray for those families that the two police officers that died in California.
Oh, yes.
So I'll say prayers. I say prayers every morning. I'll add them to
Thank you.
my prayer list.
Unfortunate.
Yeah.
Those people going to work because right now, again, another foreign entity with too much money interfering with our government costs two families, many kids, spouses.
I think there's like 5 kids in between the 2
Yeah.
families or something like that. I could be wrong, but
I think it was like 6 or 7. There were a lot of kids involved and 2 widows
Crazy.
because
They let these.
that guy,
out of control.
LA district attorney,
Let them out.
again,
You need to recall him too.
when you have foreign money interfering in our local elections, they're not looking out for the United States' best interest.
They're looking out for themselves.
But you know what? I think that might be getting halted here shortly in California because that police commissioner sounded a real pit. You know what I mean? Like the first time someone genuinely like actually gave a fuck.
About his people.
Well, I tell you what, I don't know the woman, but from what I've heard of her, in her speeches, New York City seems to have a pretty strong pro-cop police commissioner, but she's never going to get to be able to do her job or get name recognition because she's never going to be able to do what Bratton was able to do. And, it's unfortunate for her because, she was, I believe she was a detective of Nassau County, chief of Nassau County's detective division. And, detectives are the smartest, patrols the backbone. And listen, they have a good, unfortunately, I said the same, Eric Adams, the whole time he was on the police department, he was at City Hall protesting law enforcement.
Well, they had that young cop that died. They had the funeral, and that police chief gave a great speech and everything.
Commissioner,
but
yeah.
now it's over.
Okay, well,
Nothing, you don't hear about it anymore.
Oh, but you hear about the insurrection every day. And the freaking.
Yeah, the insurrection, that's a sham because there's not 2 sides, there's no cross-examination, it's just a blah, 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 blah story. I'm telling you, folks, if you want to see what's going on, what 50% of this country is hearing and believing, watch CNN when that's on.
Well, those cops get put on the news for a day or 2. Oh, they were so heroic. But you know what? There's 50-something, whatever, illegal immigrants that just got roasted in the back of that truck.
Yeah.
We'll be hearing that a month from now.
Well, only, a lot of the news is not covering 0 seconds. They won't cover that because it goes against their democratic,
That's
whatever
bad.
they're doing.
Yeah, they,
Because whatever you don't say is as bad as a lie.
Yeah.
So you're always going to have Democrats or Republicans hate each other. I mean, you can't stop it. You're going to have white hating black, black hating white.
Well, that goes, you have good and evil.
Yep.
And
there's a lot of evil in the world right now. And it starts because of our politicians.
Well, they started.
Yeah, they did.
They plant the seed.
Yep.
And then the press covers it slantingly. Like this whole January 6th thing.
Yep.
Who knows what the real story is? I mean, people say, can you talk about that? No. How can I talk about it when there's no information? There's not 2 sides of the story.
So when the Republicans take control in January of the House, they'll do their own hearings. This one will be on Hunter Biden, Joe Biden. And so it just goes back and forth. And who loses in the long run? We do. They're spending tens of millions of dollars on these hearings.
$30 million for the Mueller. And remember, folks, the government, they're not like a company that produces money. They collect money. And they're our money.
They should have an independent commission set up for everything. But it needs to be independent, not hand-picked people. And it's never going to happen with their 2.
Well, you're supposed to have it with the Department of Justice.
Yeah, but you don't anymore. You know that.
No, we have the KGB.
Right.
Isn't it funny that how you were saying that Congress doesn't make any laws anymore?
They don't. Bureaucracy.
All they do
The bureaucracy does.
is fight about these things.
That they have no say over anything.
Right, that nothing gets done anyway, and then like you said, as soon as Republicans come in, now we go after those guys.
Yep.
But no laws are being passed to help us.
No, they're being passed to hurt you.
Yeah.
Because what makes the government run? Revenue. Where do they get the revenue? From us. So when you run out of tax dollar, what do? You implement another
tax.
law.
Yeah.
You know,
Gas tax.
DEC all of a sudden finds a truck for $10,000 because his brakes are out of adjustment and the light bulb's out.
Yeah.
That puts a small business guy right out of business.
Yep, it sure does.
But in the social country, there is no small business, so they don't want him there to begin with.
Yeah.
You know, Biden always says that he's tired of these big companies making tons of money. He wants them to pay their fair share. But thanks to him, people like Walmart, Home Depot, Lowe's, all
Taking
these
over.
big corporations have made hundreds of millions of dollars the last 18 months because of his policies.
And it goes straight to, listen,
He thinks
again-
we're dumb. He thinks we're dumb and don't see it.
this is why we feel it's fascism and not socialism or anything else, because it's run through the government.
Mhm.
So they shut everything down in COVID. So all the mom and pop shops go out of business. But these big ones don't. So now we have these big conglomerates running things. And then who's running out of all the product now? The big conglomerates.
Yeah.
Why? Because the government says, hold off on that. We're not putting that out yet. So now infants are starving to death. You know, medications, they're worrying about that. We're worrying about everything because the government now is telling these companies, listen, we kept you in business. You're going to do what we tell you to do. That's fascism, folks, where companies have to do what the government tells them to do because it's against the law for the government to do it. So they got rid of all the mom and pop shops out of the way. Restaurants were the worst enemy in the world during COVID, unless you were the French Laundry. Then, of course, you were going to be open. But all the rest of them, because you are a small mom and pop, 90% of them restaurants are just small local places. They got vilified and shut down gyms, anything to have any kind of grassroots sort of thing. But guess what?
Churches.
Yeah, churches, you know, Outback, they were allowed to stay open. You know, all these big conglomerates. And now, guess what? Now the government's taking it away from you folks. There's no
most
diapers
people
out on there.
Most people are too naive to see it.
Yeah.
That's why we're here, folks. To help you get informed of what these politicians, this president, they've been doing to us for the last 40 years. Probably longer than that. You know.
These
Since
news
1796.
agencies, too. These news agencies are going right along with the government.
Yep.
Well, they're hiring, like you said
Private
earlier,
bank.
like they're
Well,
hiring
80%.
these people from these administrations into their news agencies after they got done lying to the public about
Like
Russian
the
collusion.
Yeah.
Now they're on this.
80% of the people don't trust the media. They think they're so corrupt.
Yeah, but they still panic. Now, I don't know if that's set up. Like, do they put their people out there to show panic?
I mean, we told them. I mean, I've stopped listening to the news altogether. I'll read the internet, different stories from different CNN, Fox, CNN, MSNBC.
Newsmax.
Newsmax, Politico.
It's scary.
Listen,
I'll look at both the left and right side.
George Washington said it in 1796. It serves always to distract the public councils and enfeeble the public administration. It agitates the community with ill-founded jealousies and false alarms.
That's it, right?
I mean, I just read this to you.
How brilliant is that from 1790?
1796. This man is saying
It's actually coming
if
to
you-
place today.
if you have a two-party system, this is what's going to come. And then you flip the page, and lo and behold, holy shit, it brings outside money from different countries that don't have our interest in heart.
Maybe that's why they don't want the kids to know the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence.
Of course it is. That was Woodrow Wilson, the first progressive president in this country, and he was the president of Princeton, and he understood the power of education over these young minds. Way back during the World War I, he said, this is the track we got to take. We got to indoctrinate these kids. Now it's from preschool all the way up. So
They're teaching about transgender in the elementary school.
yeah, you can't do math. You
Preschool.
can't do science. You don't know your history. You can't even speak English. But if you get your pronouns right
These
off
kids,
the
they
Harvard
don't
you'll
even know
go.
what- These kids, they don't even know what a checkbook is.
No,
Preschool, they have flashcards with a pregnant man. Preschool.
It's ridiculous today. I mean, this is where the Independent Constitution Party comes in. We're here to take back our country, and we're going to do it one person at a time. Every day I'm adding one person, two people to our new party. So we're getting it built slowly, but we're going to get there. So before we close up, just want to talk to Jack about his, if he'd come up with anything for running for office, because we want to keep people updated.
Yeah, there's not much to say. I put in, I don't know if I did it right. I'm going to do it again. Actually, I'm going to have my wife look at it for me. Sorry. But I put in through the old interweb for the lists that I was talking about, and I didn't get anything back on it. I left my email address. So, I mean, I don't know if it's, due to COVID, nobody's at work. Sorry, sent that to an empty email box, but we'll see what happens. When I get that list, I won't show everybody, but I'll say, like, it'll be covered up like this. Oh, I got it. This is what it cost me. This is how long it took me to get. And bing, 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 bang, 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 and
Gotta go quick.
on to the next checklist on my list.
We're gonna do it. We're gonna need your help to make that happen. So stick with us. So I think today's podcast was very good.
Yeah, we had
we had a
everybody.
nice conversation piece with everybody. Thought it went smooth. So, I
Um,
want to talk about my last call first, and then you can do your last call.
all right.
All right?
I don't care.
Yeah, a little different nowadays, Well,
you're on that side of the table.
for it.
yeah, I'm on this side. So so it's time to rise up.
I'm a sore loser though.
That's okay.
Rock, paper, scissors.
So it's time to rise up and hold our politicians accountable. We, the people, are the only ones that can do that. Stop being a follower of a party and become leaders of the Constitution. Study it. Know it. When you ask these politicians questions, refer back to it. That's the only way we win, is to elect independent candidates who love country over party. We know the answer is the Independent Constitutional Party. That is the answer. When you put party over people, in my opinion, this is just Dennis talking. We're just pawns in a politician's game. But this chess game is rigged for them and them only. It's rigged for them in every election, in every vote. They make, steal, cheat, lie about. Politicians don't know us. They care less about us.
They want to know you.
Right. They care less. We believe we, the people, are the problem to them enacting their own party agenda. Listen to that. We're in their way for them to creating the state that they want. It's not looking good for us. So join us on Facebook. We got the Independent Constitutional Party, and we also got the United States Constitutional Group, both on Facebook. So stand up with us, rise up, patriots. We're counting on your help. Jack?
So, what I wanted to say is, there was an old saying that people used to say all the time. The Amora Patria, love of country.
You spell it.
I can. AMORPARTRIAE, love of country. Benjamin Franklin, you don't think these guys were worried about what they did, fighting the most powerful country in the world at the time? When they signed the Declaration of Independence, it was said that nothing was said. Guys went up there and just scratched their name. That's all you could hear was the scratch of the feather.
Uncle Mike, did that really happen?
I'm the one. I'm the one that gave that saying.
He's the one that squashed he made the ink. His feet are still stained. I wish he'd put shoes on this guy. I always wear flip-flops. So there was a little joke at the end between two of the guys about being hung. And then Benjamin Franklin, after they were all done, and everybody had signed who was going to sign that day, Benjamin Franklin said this. It's stated that he said this. My brother might know. I'll ask him later. We better hang together, because if not, we will certainly hang separately.
He did say that.
That was.
And I said, man, that was good.
I think my brother's trying to take credit for some things that were written. And I wrote that, not that. They just said it. So, listen, there's a lot of sacrifices for a long time. to have us have the luxuries we have today. And right now, I'm going to tell you, everybody that's here, we are failing the next generation coming in.
Yes, we are.
They don't know. It's not their fault. We can't talk about young kids today like other generations did. Oh, that's younger generation. They don't know anything. Well, they don't. And it's our fault. We allow it. They're not being taught. They're not being taught about American greatness. And it's not fair. And the end of this country's freedom, if it comes to fruition, is our generation's fault. That the next generation is not going to be able to grow up the way we grew up. All the stories where we tell each other and laugh, remember when we were kids, it's not going to be there for them. It's going to be suffrage and tyranny and
freaking breadlines.
starvation and violence in the street. I mean, it's going on already. I mean, it's starting to rear its ugly head, folks. By the way, just so my sister knows this too, me and Sean Patrick sent a little tweet to Elon Musk. He voted first time as a Republican, and he was looking to maybe start a super PAC for the Republicans. And I said, no. Come to us. We're a party that loves this country and wants to bring it back to its greatness. And we wrote greatness in Latin because he's a smart guy. But anyway, listen, all laughing apart, let's not screw the next generation over. Let them live free.
Amen to that. So if you want to learn more, read more. Read books like this we told you about. Read the Constitution, the Federalist Papers, the Anti-Federalist Papers. Read the Bible, because you'll find stuff that actually is happening, as the Bible said. When was that written, Mike?
It was written on a Sunday, right?
So always remember, knowledge is power. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next Thursday.
Oh, man, you guys killed me.
Yeah, you got killed today.
Very good, guys.